Hello.
Hello, Chacham.
Welcome.
Hi,
Welcome.
Rabbi Moshe, how are
I
you?
hear you, Rabbi Moshe.
how you doing?
We want to make sure all the Chachamim are here also.
All the players.
Kulanu Chachamim. Kulanu Chachamim.
Voice working?
Rabbi Haleva's here.
Oh, great. Fantastic.
Naftali Haleva, Baruch haba.
Rabbi
My audio working?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything is working.
Maybe we want to have the screen with everybody's faces and not the flyer, so we can.
Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
All right.
Baruch
Okay, that's good.
There we go, much better.
Wow,
Yeah.
you had a nice shave.
Yeah.
Daniel. You look good.
Yeah,
All right.
It's nice to wear a shirt and tie for a different.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Chacham Naftali, Baruch haba. It's great to see you from Turkey. Wow.
Yes.
Wonderful to see everybody. We'll start in 1 minute. Welcome.
Hi, Chase.
Rabbi Hassan.
Look at the Amuyals down there, I like that.
Yosef Lopez. Okay.
And there's my cousin Clara on the screen.
Yes. Hi, Neil. How are you?
Neil, Chacham Eli Abadi.
Yes.
You see everyone here. Rabbi Ilana Koka is in the middle of the screen.
I figured I'll have coffee at the SEC today with the rabbis.
Oh, that's great. Oh,
That's
that's
wonderful. Wonderful. Now we really feel at home. Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
Virtual Metifta. No, but that's in the courtyard. So at this point now, I should be telling all of them, the shiur is starting. Stop eating breakfast. Let's go.
2 more minutes.
4 minutes. Wonderful. So I think we're about ready to begin. I'd like to launch and get going. I want to say Baruchim Habaim, welcome from around the world to everybody from Los Angeles, New York, New Jersey, Seattle, Turkey, Israel. We're thrilled to have this sort of global gathering together of Sephardic rabbis. I'm Daniel Buskila, the director of the Sephardic Educational Center, the SEC. On behalf of our president, Neil Sheff, who's here, and the entire SEC, we're thrilled to welcome you together with our partners in this beautiful venture, the Sephardic Jewish Brotherhood of North America, which is so skillfully run by our beloved colleague, Chacham Nissim Elnecave. And I want to first thank Ethan Marcus, who works very, very closely with Chacham Nissim and with the Brotherhood for helping to put all this together from a technical side, the Facebook, the Zoom, all the links. It's sometimes easier said than done to put all this together. So we're thrilled to see everyone here together. Bruchim Habaim, B'Shem Hashem. It should be a good week, a beautiful week with Pesach upon us, despite the circumstances. Can we hear me? You can hear me? Yeah. I'd like to offer some words of wisdom from our Sephardic sages. This particular group, I just want to say this as I enter my first piece that I'll offer, Dvar Torah, and then we're going to go in alphabetical order so that we all know that everybody's equal in wisdom and in stature. And so to make it simple, after my introduction, I'm just going to introduce my dear friends and colleagues in alphabetical order. But I'd like for everyone to know that this group that you're meeting with today, tonight, this afternoon, whatever it is, online here, is a group that knows each other very, very well. Many of us for many years, but all of us collectively together as a group for the last 5 years. We've been gathering at a program that I'm very, very proud to convene and host. The Sephardic Educational Center every summer hosts a Metifta program for Sephardic rabbis, for rabbis from all over the world who come and spend close to 2 weeks in our center, living there, eating. In the background, you can see Neil Sheff's screen. You'll see the courtyard in the background of the SEC, makes us feel at home in the old city of Jerusalem. And spending those 10 days studying the writings, the halachic writings, the philosophical writings of our Sephardic Chachamim of past and present. And we spend 10 days in the Bet Midrash studying with different brilliant professors, rabbis, teachers who inspire us, educate us, empower us with knowledge to bring back to our kehilot and to spread that beautiful Torah to them. And in addition to that, we also stay in touch with a WhatsApp chat group that's very, very active all day, all night, depending on the hour, depending on the topic, sometimes 10, 15 messages in 15 minutes, not in an hour. And it's a lot of fun. We do so with a lot of love, friendship. We're all from very different backgrounds, different communities, but we share in common a deep bond of friendship and a deep love for our Sephardic heritage, and not only from a cultural standpoint, but from an intellectual and philosophic standpoint, that we're able to share with the world the beauty of the teaching of the Sephardic Chachamim, and to hopefully make that part of the global Jewish conversation. So we're very, very proud in that spirit that we're taking this from the old city to our chat group, and now on Zoom. Even in this matzav cherum, in these emergency type of times, we think creatively and we think together, and it produces something very beautiful for kehilot around the world. So with that, I'm going to begin. What we're going to do is each of us is going to present a few words of Torah leading into Pesach. And so after this brief introduction that I gave, I'm going to go straight into my words, and then I'm going to have the privilege of introducing each of my chaverim, each of my colleagues and friends. So what I'd like to do, somebody sent me a very, very beautiful text, which I translated into English, and I'd like to read it to you. It's a letter written by a father to his children. It was written on the 6th of Nisan, the 6th day of this current month, the month of Nisan, in the year Tafshin Chet, 1948. The letter was written by a father to his children and grandchildren. The father and grandfather, the individual, happened to be in Yerushalayim, in Jerusalem, and his family were in Tel Aviv. And it was right before Pesach, and I'd like to read to you his words. I translated them into English so we could feel a little bit the fact that the type of Pesach that we're all anticipating, alone, away from our families, maybe in meager terms, is not unprecedented in our own history and in Jewish history. This was a letter written in 1948, just a few days into the month of Nisan, going into the holiday of Pesach. Here's what it says. My beloved and dear family, it has now been close to 6 months that I have not been with you in person, and my longing to be with you is increasing dramatically from day to day. It was my hope that the situation would improve and that we would be able to celebrate the Seder together, a family event that we all look forward to every year. Unfortunately, the situation does not allow for it due to the danger on the roads to travel from Yerushalayim to Tel Aviv. Trying to travel these roads would put myself or you in serious danger. I am also deeply concerned at the tremendous lack of food or supplies here in Jerusalem. And it is safe to say that the entire Jewish community here in Jerusalem, without exception, is living in miserable conditions of hunger, with bread and salt and minimal food in our homes, and even rationed amounts of water. With tremendous difficulty, we once in a while are able to get a few drops of milk and a small package of butter, but that's it. What will be on Pesach, we still don't know. but there is no doubt that whatever Pesach will look like, it will be conducted in the most minimalist fashion. In this very difficult situation, I do not pretend to hope that our family will be gathered the night of Pesach. Yet it is very difficult for me to picture the painful loneliness I will experience that night. I thought that perhaps I would go to a hotel for the Seder, but I won't, because I find it preferable to sit in my home all alone in isolation than to go out to some strange place which is not familiar to me. My heart and my thoughts now turn towards you, my dear family, as I feel your pain on this upcoming Pesach, which will be the very first time in our family's history that it will be observed in such terrible circumstances where we are separated from one another. How great is the pain that we are all suffering and feeling together. But despite all of this, my dear children and grandchildren, do not be sad and don't get your spirits down. Let us thank God that we are all alive, and let's accept this situation with love. Be strong and be courageous, and please celebrate Pesach with love and knowing that I am with you in your hearts. May the blessings of God be upon you to protect you from any calamities. And in the spirit of the words of the Haggadah, let us pray that next year we will celebrate this holiday as a family, reunited here in joy, here in Eretz Yisrael, Be'arad Yisrael B'nei Chorin, in the land of Israel, as a free people, with lots of love from your father and grandfather who loves you and misses you very dearly, Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel. This was a letter written by Rav Uziel, who is the Chacham, was the Chacham Bashi, Rishon LeZion. This was a letter written by a great, great, great Sephardic Chacham, but first and foremost, before he was a Sephardic Chacham, he was a father, he was a grandfather, and this was the letter that he wrote to his family in anticipation of celebrating Pesach, as the word has been used in Hebrew today, bibdidut, in isolation. It's not unprecedented in our history, and we take strength from knowing that even Chachamim, wise men, why are our Sephardic Chachamim so wise? Because they did what they had to do under the circumstances. They followed the rules. They knew how painful the reality was to be separated. But he said, the danger in the streets and in the roads of Tel Aviv and Yerushalayim, even in the most meager of terms without food, we are going to have to, this year, celebrate in meager terms with the hope and prayer that next year we'll be reunited. In the same spirit, I would like to wish that all of us, in the spirit of the letter of the great Chacham Uziel and the great father to his children and grandchildren, that we too, Bezrat Hashem, despite our sedarim bibidud, in isolation this year, shall next year, please God, be reunited with our families, and hopefully all of us, be'arad Yisrael, in the land of Israel together. Amen. It now gives me great, great, great pleasure to introduce my very beloved and dear colleague from New York, from Congregation Manhattan East of New York, Rabbi Dr. Eli Abadi. Chacham Abadi, b'chavod.
Thank you so much, my dear friend and colleague, Rabbi Daniel, and the rest of my dear friends and colleagues and all those that are joining us today. בכל דור ודור חייב אדם להראות את עצמו כאילו הוא יצא ממצרים. In every generation, one must see and demonstrate himself as though he left Egypt. The entire night of the Pesach Seder, and when we read the Haggadah, we act in a way through different customs and actions, each community has its own, to demonstrate that indeed we feel as though we ourselves have left Egypt. In this way, we can feel and we can educate our children and all those accompanying us during the Seder to experience, albeit very briefly and in a very small magnitude, the servitude that our forefathers experienced and the freedom that they eventually achieved. Recently, I was invited by the American Jewish Congress to speak at a function in Westchester County north of New York, where I was asked to recount the details of my family history in the Middle East. During my talk, I described my parents' exodus from Egypt before I was born. Having been driven out by the Arab government and the population after the establishment of the State of Israel, my mother swore never to return. She had vividly described to me the burning of the synagogues next door by the Arab mobs that was fast approaching my parents' home, and the pillaging of Jewish shops and the destruction of the Jewish neighborhood. My parents and older siblings were able to flee and made their way to Lebanon, which eventually became my birthplace. I remember a pleasant childhood in Lebanon, albeit restricted, given that we were Jews. However, when I was a boy of about 10 years old, the feeling of uneasiness living as a Jew in a fast becoming Muslim country with the presence of many of the guerrillas of the PLO, my country became more dangerous. Many times our attempt to leave Lebanon were futile. As refugees, we could not leave unless a different country would accept us. Permission from the authorities was not granted to leave. A few years later, I remember my family receiving a telegram. In those days, texting, WhatsApping, Skyping, or Zooming did not exist. So a telegram was due. Erev Pesah, exactly that telegram came, with permission to exit Lebanon and to start a new life in Mexico. As my memory was really shocked and jarred, I realized that I felt like my brethren who many generations earlier were imprisoned, enslaved, and later emancipated from a life that lacked freedom in Egypt. The fact that the good news coincided with Pesach might have been coincidental, but in actuality, that was the most joyous Pesach I could remember as a child. As my family chanted from the Haggadah, we all felt that duality of existence, slavery and imprisonment on the one hand, and freedom and the liberty on the other. I believe that we were indeed experiencing and reliving the injunction, Bechol dor vador hayav adam. In every generation, a person has to see himself as though he left Egypt, in both of its variation, as a persecuted nation and as a people who imagine and demonstrate themselves as though they are being liberated from Egypt. Our custom is to carry the matzah on the shoulders and say the mish'arotam. And later on, we are asked usually in Arabic for the Middle Eastern Jews, Mnen jaye, where are you coming from? And we would answer, Mi Misraim, Lawen rayeh, to you, where are you going to? And the answer is usually Yerushalayim. But that night, I remember very well, when we were asked that question, Mnen jaye, where are you coming from? We said from Beirut, Lebanon. Lawen rayeh, to where you going? We answered to Mexico. That's what I remember very well. And so it left an impression in me. Today in the United States, we live a life of freedom and liberty. Our children are thankfully removed from the hardships that faced their grandparents who are living as Jews in a hostile world. Although we cherish our freedom and do not wish to return to a life of hardship, we must always remind ourselves of a life without freedom. We can never become complacent and take our freedom as status for granted. Many of our elders remember a world without a Jewish state, without Israel. They remember a life filled with insecurities and instabilities, no different than our forefathers in Egypt. In order to appreciate what God has bestowed upon us, we must continue to acknowledge that freedom should never be taken for granted and that we must be diligent to maintain it always. This year is different from previous years, and we may need to chant, Man nishtanta hashana hazot mikol hashanim. Why is this year different than other years? Yes, our freedom has been diminished as most of us around the world have been confined in our homes due to the coronavirus pandemic. Many of us will be celebrating Pesach alone, our grandparents alone, our children alone, our singles alone. No large sidarim, no sharing and exchanging hidushim, explanation and interpretation of our Torah and of our Haggadah and of our customs, but is only with those that are around our table. And this year, when we recite in the Haggadah, "Bechol dor vador omdim alenu lechalotenu v'hakadosh baruch hu masilenu miyadam," in every generation they stand against us to annihilate us, and the Holy One, God, will save us, will have a different significance. This year, it is the COVID-19 pandemic that is attempting to annihilate us and separate us. But this year and this enemy, we share with the rest of the world. The end of the statement, however, is still true and same. "V'hakadosh baruch hu masilenu miyadam." The Holy One, God, will save us. Hopefully soon we will see the end of this pandemic. As Pesach approaches, I would like each of us to be thankful for all that we have and to appreciate the freedom that our forefathers fought so hard to attain and transmit to us. It is incumbent upon us to cherish that freedom and to secure it for our children, excuse me, and the generations to come. Thank you very much. Tizku leshanim rabot and Chag Sameach.
Yeah, Chazak Baruch, Rabbi Abadi, beautiful, beautiful words, and thank you for the personal memories, especially that makes it very real and connects it to us. Thank you so much. It's now my great pleasure and honor to introduce a very dear friend, somebody who's behind a lot of this work, the chat group. Some of you may have seen the very beautiful Choveret, the beautiful booklet that we just produced for Pesach, for coming Pesach, with articles, minhagim, customs, and so on. It's been mailed out. It'll be emailed. This was all initiated and edited by our very beloved and dear friend from the Sephardic community of Fort Lee, New Jersey, our beloved dear friend, Chacham Ilan Akoka, Rabbi Akoka, b'chavod.
Thank you so much, Rabbi Daniel, and thank you for your warm greeting. But I wouldn't be able to do what you described without the group that we have, and for that I'm thankful for each and every one of the rabbinic group that we have that was created. And really, it's the credit goes to Rabbi Buskila, who has been the one who really started this group in the Sephardic Educational Center. Hazaku Baruch, may we continue on. Mehail El Hail. I would like just to share with you a few words from one of the great Sephardic Hachamim of the previous generation by the name of Rabbi Yosef Mesas, Zecher Tzadik Vekadosh Livracha. This great man, writer, artist, speaker, rabbi, was born in Morocco in 1892 and eventually went to Algeria and made his aliyah and was the chief rabbi of Israel. He passed away in 1974. In his commentary to the Haggadah, Vayizkor Yosef, he speaks about the famous song Had Gadya. And he describes in his Haggadah how one day around Pesach, he was invited to a wedding. And in that particular wedding that took place around Pesach, they started to sing Had Gadya. So he was listening to the people, the Paitanim, who were singing, and he describes it in a beautiful way, as he always does in his books. And eventually he says that a person came to him and told him, Chacham, Rabbi, could you explain me what the Had Gadya is all about? And he says that he really didn't have an explanation to say. He didn't have anything profound to share with them. So he told them there's a lot of things behind it, but this is not the right time to do so. And as he was talking to him, a few people came and they joined the conversation. And finally, one of them said, well, it's a Kabbalistic song, and really we don't understand what is the meaning behind it. Eventually, after this wedding, Rabbi Yosef took upon himself. He wanted to find out what is the real meaning of Had Gadya. And he went on to look in different books, and he said that he found in Rabbi Yehuda Halevi, the great Sephardic author and poet, an explanation. But the explanation of Rabbi Yehuda Halevi was something that was extremely deep, that he wasn't able, he said that he wouldn't be able to transmit it to people or to tell it to the people in his synagogue and in his surroundings. So he took it upon himself to find or to write his own perush on Had Gadya. I don't have a lot of time. It's 5 minutes. For a rabbi, 5 minutes is certainly not a lot of time, but I'll keep it to 5 minutes, and I'll say just the beginning of what he says. He said Had Gadya, as we know, is the kid. And he says this kid, it represents Am Israel, the Jewish people, the Jewish nation. We are the flock of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. The Zabin Abba Bitre Zuzeh, that the father bought with 2 zuzim, with 2 coins. This father is Avinu Shebashamayim. It is our Father in heaven. And then he goes on and he says, God, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, moved 2 times by himself. He didn't send any emissaries, as we read in the Haganah. Ani velo malach, I, Hashem, went, but it wasn't an angel. It's him himself who went actually not once, but twice. The first time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu went down to Mitzrayim, he went down during Makat Bechorot, the 10th plague that we have, which is Makat Bechorot, the firstborn. And at that time, as we know, the Torah describes that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God protected and saved the Jewish people. But that was not enough. There was a second time that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that God went down. And this was in order to take Am Yisrael from Mitzrayim, from Egypt. He took them out of Egypt. And therefore, when we speak about the Had Gadya, we say, Bitre Zuzeh. Tre Zuzeh means, on a very simple level, 2 coins. But Zuzeh, says Rabbi Mesas, Rabbi Yosef Mesas, comes from the word Zaz, to move. HaKadosh Baruch Hu moved himself. He didn't send anyone else. He didn't send any emissaries. He didn't send any angels. But he himself was the one who went down to save the Jewish people. As I was thinking about this message of Rabbi Yosef Mesas, I thought about the situation that we find ourselves in. Certainly a very challenging situation. But I think it's apropos, it's happening around Pesach. And why? To teach us, as Rabbi Yosef said. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God is the one who has protected us. He took us out of Mitzrayim, he took us out of Egypt. He was there for us, and he is still here for us at every moment of our lives. As difficult, as challenging as it could be, we have to understand, Am Yisrael Chai V'Kayam. The fact is, we are still alive. We are a nation, and only because God is the one who's Avinu Shebashamayim, our Father in heaven. And therefore, I was thinking, if Rabbi Yosef Mesas would be here and we would turn to him, and I would have loved to meet this great man. I was 4 years old when he passed away. But if he was there, I would go over to him and I would ask him, what do you think about it? What will happen? I have no doubt that he would tell me, Ya Ibni, my son, everything will be fine. I know people who knew Rabbi Yosef Mesas, and they told me that he was a fatherly type of figure. Whenever I mention Rabbi Yosef Mesas to people who know him, they stand up because they say he was such a simple but profound man at the same time, a father to so many people who knew him. So in the zchut of Rabbi Yosef Mesas, b'zchut kol hachachamim, all the great rabbis, Sephardic and Ashkenazi rabbis as well, we are all one nation. Be'ezrat Hashem, may God keep us united, and may God protect us. As Rabbi Yosef says, he protected us when we came out of Egypt. He was there for us. And Be'ezrat Hashem, may all of us together will be able to see an end to this epidemic. I wish each and every one of you Chag Sameach V'Kasher, Tizku Leshanim Rabot, Ne'imot V'Tovot.
Chazaku Baruch, Chacham Ilan. Thank you for those beautiful words and for sharing always the chokhmah of Rabbi Yosef Mesas, one of our great Chachamim that we look up to, and that you always bring us and enlighten us with his words. Thank you so much. Is Rabbi Ben David here with us? Is Rabbi Eitan Ben David, did he make it? Okay, Rabbi Eitan Ben David had wanted to be. I'm sure maybe something came up, hoping he's okay. Rabbi Ben David is from Israel, is originally from the United States. He's now in Ra'anana, serving a community. We were also supposed to have Chacham Baruch Garzon, Benito Garzon, who is the heart and soul of the SEC from the 1980s and 90s. Was originally from Morocco, lived in Spain for many years. Now he's also in Ra'anana, also unable to be with us, unfortunately, tonight, but we wish both of them well in Israel. We know that Israel is going to experience a major lockdown during Pesach, unfortunately, and we wish everybody there strength, health, chizuk, unity during this very, very challenging and difficult time. So it now gives me great pleasure and honor, keeping going along our alphabetical line, to introduce my beloved friend of many years, and somebody who's very beloved here in Los Angeles. He's the rabbi of the West Coast Torah Center, a beautiful Beit Knesset, Sephardic synagogue, and has also, long before we now have discovered Zoom technology, only the last month, Rabbi Ben Zaken, a few years ago already, opened a beautiful day school here, Harkam Gaon Academy, that actually educates hundreds of high school students, a high school that he opened, which is entirely rooted in technology and computers and using Zoom and other such technology to spread Torah and general studies education. We're thrilled to have you, of course, with us always, Chacham Moshe. So it's a great honor to present my friend, Chacham Moshe Ben Zaken. Chavod. We need to unmute him.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can, wow.
Thank you so much. First of all, Chacham Daniel, thank you so much for that introduction. It is the same feeling, and we love you. We all love you for all the unbelievable work that you do. You put us together, and we have found unbelievable friends throughout because of you. So for that, we are very thankful, and to the SEC. They say that כשם שפרצופיהם שונות, כך דעותיהם שונות. Same like we are all different, we all look different. The same thing, our minds, our thoughts, and our teachings are also very, very different. So after listening to our dear friends, I'd like to take it from a different perspective on the Haggadah. And I would like to go back to my youth when I was a student at Jews College in London. And there I was introduced, after being in the yeshiva, I was introduced to a very, very different way of studying and taking the text of the Torah in looking at it from a very different perspective. So there is first of all, the Arba'a Banim that the Haggadah speaks about, the four sons, the four different types of people that we are always facing in our community. Sometimes the Hachamim, sometimes the people who do not know anything, and sometimes they're very skeptic about the entire text of the Torah. So I would like to make an approach on what we call in college, we call internal evidence and external evidence. Most of the people, they usually, they among the Goyim, they will say that the entire Tanakh is a lot of stories nicely created by later people, because there is no external evidence of it. From the time of Abraham Avinu, from the time of coming out of Egypt, that it never happened. There is no external evidence, there is no evidence, therefore everything is a nice story. But there is a lot of internal evidence, which means from within the text, that shows that really things were very much, the people who wrote it, they were very much into that time. So I would like to just show you a few examples. For example, you have in Bereshit, in the story of Yosef, when he stood in front of Paro, and after really explaining the dreams to Paro, Paro comes and he says, there is nobody, en hacham v'navon kamocha, and then he says there that Paro, he says, Vayasar Paro et tabato me'al yado vaytena al yad Yosef, that Paro took the ring and he put it inside the hand of Yosef. That was the way we see it in archaeology. We see it how really the depiction of a certain pharaoh giving to a different person a ring. And how do they do it? They put it inside the hand, not in the finger, not anywhere, but inside the hand, which means that the person who was writing the Torah was very much familiar with the practices of Egypt. Same thing when it comes to as well to Yetziat Mitzrayim. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says to Moshe Rabbeinu, after he took them out of Egypt and they were in the desert, it says there, that before entering the land of Israel, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, "V'shalachti et hatzir'a lefanecha, v'geresha et ha'emori v'et ha'chiti v'ha'yebusi," that I will send a wasp. A wasp. So what exactly is a wasp? I mean, we never heard of a kind of a virus as a wasp being sent into Egypt, into Eretz Canaan, before Am Israel would go there. So apparently, the tzira'ah, the same like the ram, who was one of the gods of the deities of the Egyptians, the tzira'ah was one of them too. And while Am Israel were for 40 years in the desert, what do you think the Egyptians were doing? So they were having a major war with the Canaanites, with the Hittite especially. And they, HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls them, "Shalachti et hatzir'a lefanecha," I will send the wasp, which is equivalent to the Egyptians. And as a matter of fact, while Am Israel were wandering for 40 years in the Midbar, in the desert, the Egyptians were kind of cleaning up the Canaanite tribes and armies, really for Am Israel to walk in and not having so much of a major war with the residents of the Canaanites. And like this, there are many different examples that there is an internal evidence that really the Torah, when it was written, it was very much aware of what was going on then and what was going on in the societies of the time that the Torah was written, and Moshe emet v'torato emet, that Torah Moshe is true, and we should really engage our skeptic children or sons, whoever it is, that the Torah is really a true Torah, was given on Sinai to us to really relegate to our families, to our children, and to pass the story to the next generation. So with that, I would like to leave you and wish all of you a Pesach, Chag Sameach, Moadim Lesimcha, Hagim Dvarim Sason. I was really going to say Chag Kasher V'Sameach, but that's not really the greeting of us, the Sephardim. So Moadim Lesimcha, we have no doubt that you will have a Chag Kasher V'Sameach with everyone that you have at home, or for that matter, with a Zoom, whatever it is. You should enjoy Pesach Bezrat Hashem, and we should next year. We should celebrate at the SEC in Yerushalayim. Bezrat Hashem imera b'yameinu.
Amen, amen, amen.
Thank you so much.
Shana haba be'arai Yisrael ba'SEC.
Amen. Bezrat Hashem.
Beautiful words, Chacham Moshe. Thank you so very much. Always delivered with such beauty. It's now gives me great pleasure to introduce a very, very dear friend. He has a background with the SEC. He was part of the SEC from the beginning in the 1980s. He's worked as a rabbi in the Brooklyn community, in the Syrian community, and now he has taken on a gigantic role in really revitalizing an organization and many communities in New York, particularly the Sephardic, Ladino, Balkan communities in the New York area, through the Sephardic Jewish Brotherhood of North America, which is co-sponsoring today's global learning. So it gives me great pleasure to welcome for his Divrei Chochmah, a dear and beloved friend, Chacham Nissim Elnecave, Chavod. Let's make sure he's unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can hear it. Thank you.
Okay, great. It's a good thing you can hear me. Thank you so much, Chacham. I must say to the Sibuk, to all of the people listening now, that the group that Rabbi Daniel Uskila has put together here, Chachamim, is first rank. And not only first rank in knowledge of Torah, but also in humanity, the love for each other that we have, the friendship, the the jokes that go around, they're fantastic. So
The humor is fantastic.
a lot of people would be jealous because we have a lot of fun together. And so really, this is such a special group. And it's great that we're in front of our communities and our people, and we can share that with all of you, because we want to transmit our emotion, our friendship to our entire community, to the Jewish people, because that's what we aspire to very, very much. Be'ezrat Hashem.
Absolutely.
So I want to read to you a couple of pieces. There was a rabbi back in Turkey. He was the chief rabbi. I know that we're going to hear from Rabbi Naftali Halev in a few minutes, but so he might complete any of what I'm going to say now. One of the great rabbis of the 20th century was, with no doubt, Rabbi Raphael Saban. He was the chief rabbi of Turkey from about 1940 to about 1960, 61. The Chacham, I heard recently an amazing story about his knowledge and his memory. Chacham Raphael Saban, they used to say that on Shabbatot he used to pray in a minyan very early. And so after the prayer, they would have some type of a desayuno, a breakfast. They would sit there, the people that would get together with the Chacham, and often there would be a debate of sorts in some halakha or some passage of the Torah, and there would be debates and arguments. See, and the old Hachamim, the old chief rabbis, they used to carry a staff, and he had a staff. So the debate would go on, and then all of a sudden you would hear the staff of the Hacham hitting the ground. And as that would happen, then all of a sudden, the entire room would go silent, and the Hacham would point to a place in his library, somewhere a hidden book that he had read some 20 or 30 years earlier. And he would say, the answer is in that book. This had an incredible memory. They would put the book down, he would show them the page and the place, and he would tell them, this is the answer to the question that you guys are debating. So this is usually the trait very often that we find amongst the Sephardi rabbis. So I want to read you a small piece, a message from the Rabbi Raphael Saban, 1957 for Pesach. And I think that it's a real beautiful message for us today. This is an eternal message, but for us today anyway. And he writes in a newspaper which was called La Luz, the Light, and this is the message. La fe judía, la verdadera emuná, la pura creencia en el grandior y en la bondad del Dios, topa su más alta expresión en el banquete familiar de Pesach, en la nochada excepcional del Seder, que se puede ser la más característica de nuestras ceremonias tradicionales. He says that the Jewish faith, our trust in God, our connection to God, finds the highest moment at the time that we get together to celebrate in the Seder during the night of Pesach. The rabbi says, la fe ancestral en esta noche se traduce en una expresión de gratitud colectiva. Our faith, our trust in God, so old on this night, is translated into expression of absolute collective great gratitude towards God. Y todos los convives entonando a una boca el himno de la reconocencia divina. And we all together sing the different praises to God on this very night. Then en esta fe el verdadero abrigo de Israel. On this night, we see how God embraces us. 2 points that I want to make. One, thank God when we live within our communities, I say Sephardic communities, there's something very special that goes on Pesach. And maybe tonight, maybe this Pesach, it will be a little bit difficult to see. But I've enjoyed many Pesach where after I finish the Seder, I walk around the homes that are nearby and I hear the chanting and I hear the people repeating the same words and the children singing the same Haggadah, which we have ended a little bit earlier, but they're singing the same tunes. They're singing these very, very old tunes. And we feel so connected to our people. That's one. The second point that I think that it's tremendous that the Hacham, Rabbi Saban, is making here is our connection to God, our gratitude to our Creator. Those two things stand out very, very much on this Pesach, to me and to many of us. Yes, we might be sitting alone, and we might be sitting in a different situation than we were expecting. But the one thing that gives us so much courage and is so, in so many ways, is so inspiring to many of us, to the rabbis, it's so inspiring, is to hear from our people how they're concerned and they're trying to make sure that they have the proper Pesach and they observe Pesach and they get their masot and they read the Haggadah. And these are the emails and the phone calls that we're getting now from all sorts of people, people that are very knowledgeable or people that have less knowledge, people that want to make sure that no matter what, the Seder is made for them. Somehow that even though they don't know well how to make a Seder, they're asking us how to make it. It's so very inspiring. The second is, as Rabbi Ilan quoted before, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Innelo Yanum Velo Ishan, God is keeping his eye on us, and we keep connected to Kadosh Baruch Hu. We keep on praying, and God absolutely keeps an eye on us. And so, yes, we're going through a little bit of a trying time, but we look very much forward to very, very soon see this pass by and be a long gone memory, and for us to gather together again and enjoy life to its fullest the way we love to, enjoy our tradition the way we love to, and continue to laugh and to sing. And we're going to do it on Pesach, right? So we're making a statement. We're continuing to sing and to laugh, and very soon we'll do it like we've always done. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Chazak u'baruch, Chacham Nissim, thank you for beautiful, beautiful words. Always inspirational and upbeat and positive. Thank you so much. Now it gives me great pleasure moving along to introduce the Chacham from Seattle, from one of the original Sephardic communities of the United States, one of the flagship Sephardic communities, Ladino Sephardic communities of the United States, Sephardic Bikur Cholim. I have great pleasure to introduce a very, very dear friend. We see from his background that he's already in the Pesach spirit. He has matzot in the background, so he's getting ready, preparing. So I'm honored to present a very dear friend, the Rabbi of Sephardic Bikur Cholim, Rabbi Ben Hassan. Chacham Ben, b'chavod.
Thank you, Rabbi Daniel, and thank you to all of my fellow rabbis and educators and beloved friends. Thank you all who are joining. A big shout out to all the Seattle friends, and especially to my family, all tuning in from around the world. Wonderful to be with you. I want to share with you a few ideas from the Ma'am Loez. And these are themes which I share every year at my Haggadah. I think that they are the most important and the most meaningful ones that we can have. And they are as follows. If we're careful when we look at the Seder, we are throughout focusing on conflicting symbolism. On the one hand, we have symbolism which shows freedom, like leaning, drinking wine, dipping. And on the other hand, we have symbols which imply slavery, like the bitter herbs, the maror. And we have to understand what is going on here. Are we commemorating freedom, or are we commemorating slavery? And the Ma'am Loez explains that this is what we're trying to understand. that we are going on a journey. At the beginning of the night of Pesach, we are avadim, we are slaves in Mitzrayim. And at that point, ha-lachma anya, this is the bread of slavery. But as we go through Magid, the same bread of slavery which the Egyptians made us eat becomes matzah, the bread of freedom. We are transporting ourselves on that journey. The same is true of karpas. Karpas, which reminds us of the tears, is where the slavery began. We have an idea that karpas represents Yosef's ketonet, his tunic being dipped in the blood, and we understand why the slavery began. It began because the brothers were jealous of Yosef, and he was a slave, and he went down to Mitzrayim. That sometimes it's because of what we do to each other, and sometimes it's other factors. When we understand the reasons, we can come out and focus on true meaning of Pesach. When we say Arami Oved Avi, what does it mean? Does it mean our father was a wandering Aramean, which means it was Abraham or Yaakov? Or does it mean that Lavan, who was the Aramean, mistreated our father Yaakov? Trying to understand those different pieces, trying to weave the tapestry of the Perushim, trying to go on a journey. And this is something which I do with my family, with my daughters, is to realize we are not reenacting something which happened just to our ancestors. We are enacting what happened to us. We, on the night of Pesach, begin as slaves. And we must get out of slavery and become free. And now, whether it's with just those who are in our household, or we are spiritually connecting with those who can't be with us, or as we've talked a lot about those of us who will be with us on Zoom, we are all together going on a journey. And my baracha for each and every one of us is that we don't miss this opportunity to think, I wish we could be with so-and-so, or this is not going to be like the Pesach of years gone past, but rather, this is a unique opportunity to make this the best Pesach Seder ever. I love large Pesach Sedarim. I am sad that my mother will not be with us. But I told my children on Friday night, this is a unique opportunity for just the 6 of us to be together and without any interruptions, just share Divrei Torah and experience it. And together, we'll begin as slaves, and Bezrat Hashem will come out to freedom, and there'll be the end of all the klalot, all the curses, and it'll only brachot ad brachat belidai. I want to wish you all a mo'adim lesimcha, chagim uzmanim lesason.
Hazaku Baruch, thank you for those beautiful and inspirational words from a great leader of a very, very important and beautiful community, Chacham Ben Hassan. Thank you again for really Divrei Chochmah and Divrei Chizuk. Very, very beautiful. Gives us a lot to think about this year. It now gives me great pleasure. We've been so far local to North America. We've journeyed from Los Angeles to New Jersey to New York to Seattle. We're now going to venture internationally to Turkey, where we have with us Chacham Naftali Chaleva, one of our beloved and dear friends. I've had the personal privilege of knowing him for over 30 years. We were at Yeshiva University together. We were students in the Smicha program together at YU back then. I've also had the great privilege of knowing his beloved father, of meeting him here in Los Angeles. His father, Chacham Chaleva, is currently the Chacham Bashi of the chief rabbi of the Turkish community. Very, very important and historic position that he holds. And his son leads very important communities. He's brought some young people to Israel every year. He brings a lot of young people and encourages them to come and visit Israel. And sometimes we've had the privilege of them spending Shabbat at the SEC with our Metifta group. And we saw the work firsthand that he's doing in bringing these beautiful people, these beautiful young people that come from Turkey closer to their roots, closer to their Sephardic roots, to Judaism. So I'm pleased to welcome from Turkey live. It's a great, it gives us all a great feeling being here in the United States to have somebody internationally and especially a very dear friend. Chacham Naftali Chaleva b'chavod.
Daniel, thank you very much. First of all, I'd like to thank you, whatever you do every year for Metifta program. Also to Neil Chef, to SEC, because every single time we do come to Israel, we have a great experience and great learning whenever we are in Israel. I'd like to give you some idea. First of all, most of the people, whenever talks about Agadah, before I talk about the Agadah, I mean, we as a Sephardic custom, we will be strange. In Turkey, we have the kitniot problem because we hold like Ashkenazim, so we don't eat basically the kitniot. This is the most of the Sephardic people, like, you know, they do eat the rice and so on. So we have the basic problem of the kitniot. And we were looking the writings of the chief rabbis, and on the time of Rabbi Saban, there was a problem of that time, was a war, and was a lot of famine and matzah. They could not able to provide matzah. And we find handwriting on that time that there was a Torah, there was a that year. For that year, the Beit Din decided they will not have the kitniot, they could able to eat the rice. So that was the only time that for many years, basically they did eat the rice. We as a chief rabbi and the Beit Din, we were thinking about this year, should we do the same thing? But thank God, we have the matzah, we have the supermarket is open, everything we can able to need it. So basically we come to conclusion, we will not, going to cancel the kitniot, and we're going to hold the minhag of Turkey Jews for many years not to eat the kitniot. I'd like to talk about an idea. Usually people, they talk about the beginning of Agadah. They bring the Chidushim. I like to give some important point from the second part of Agadah, which was we rush to and we don't pay attention. I'll talk about in the Birkat Hamazon itself, because it's very difficult to come till the end. We have already 3 cups of the wine, and we Shulchan Orech. It's nice, meal that all the Sephardic women they cook. So it's very difficult come to the end. We do say the Birkat Hamazon, but the end of the Agadah has been neglected, which is Nishmat Kol Chai. Nishmat Kol Chai is the central piece of Shabbat. Usually is the main thing of maybe on Shabbat, the main prayer of the Shabbat prayer. As we know that even that according to our belief that there are the 3 types of neshama during the morning prayer, the nefesh come in Nishmat Kol Chai, Ruach come in Hashem Sefata in Amidah itself, and the neshama comes in the Keter, which is Ayem Ekom in the Amidah itself. When we say, which is the third part, the third part of neshama Yetera come in Amidah, in Keter. We see Nishmat Kol Chai is very important. What we say in Nishmat Kol Chai, why is so important? Why in the end of the Agadah is the theme, is the main thing of the Pesach. Nishmat Kol Chai, and Ben Ish Chai says, the Rashi Tevot is Nun Chav Chet. Nun is equal 50, Chav is equal 20, Chet is equal 8, 78. 78 basically 26 multiplied 3 times Akadosh Baruch Hu. So Nishmat Kol Chai, whenever we say Nishmat Kol Chai, we are making declaration to thank God, which is saying you are guiding us, whatever we have, and you are the truth. You are to make the sick person better, which is, Ulcha levadecha anachnu modim. It's very important today to realize that we are in the hand of God. Basically, the healing today, unfortunately, there are so many diseases, so many cases. Of course, the doctor is important, but the healing is not the hand of the doctor. And sometime in WhatsApp, I remember one of the journalists, Jewish journalists, he wrote in the Twitter, he says, I am wishing, that, these doctors, the scientific people, they should find the pill the treatment for the coronavirus. And I wrote immediately, it says, if the God signs it, we'll find it. So basically, everything is the hand of the God. We said, Borei Refuot. God creates the medicine. So basically, today we have to pray, we have to make it a prayer that God should make the decision, and we should praise Him. He should be mercy to find the medicine as quick as possible. So we are in the hand of the God. So this is what Nishmat Kol Chai in this year, in the hand of the God. Usually we don't make the in the hand, but it's very important, to appreciate what God gives us. Could you imagine today? I'm doing the Zoom tefillot, okay, Shachrit, Mincha, and Arvit, and we have the Avelim in the 2 weeks and everything. Could you imagine that this Avelim has a problem? They cannot able to say the Kaddish, even the Zoom. Now we are like 100 people together. I mean, could you imagine we're in a situation that, we cannot able to say the Kaddish. So when we have somebody as Aveh saying the Kaddish, he should thank God he could able saying the Kaddish, because there's a certain time, could be, there is a chance not to say the Kaddish, because the synagogue is closed. So this is why Nishmat Kol Chai is so important to thank God. There's only one other thing. There's a joke, 2 baskets and 2 angels. They said, we're going to collect all the prayers, all the Jewish people going to go from one yeshiva to other yeshiva to collect all the people's prayer. And one basket, one angel, the other in the basket and the other angel, and one basket is full. It's full, and suddenly the other angel says, could you able tell me what is your basket? Because the other basket is very empty, and the basket is full. Is basically is the request prayer. Request. We want. The other basket, which is the angel waiting, is empty. Is basically to thank the God. Today, unfortunately, today we have the advantage to thank God with every single position we are in home. But usually people forget to thank God. Like a father, we give the children something, and once they receive, they forget to thanking the God. So the thanking God is so important. So we have to thank God. We have the room, we have the computer. Today there are so many ways. We have there's a certain so many things you can able to thank God. In Mishnah in Pirkei Avot, as you know, there is Rabbi Yochanan had 5 students, and they were talking about what is the important trait, the good character in person's life. One it says Ayin Tov, and the other basically the negative Ayin Ra, which is good eye and bad eye. Lev Tov, good heart. The other side it says Lev Ra, which is the bad heart. One it says Chaver Tov, the other one says Shachen Ra, which is the bad neighbor. Till now we understood everything like the opposite side. Good heart, bad heart, evil eye, good eye, evil eye, and good friend and bad friend. The last thing that we don't understand, which is said Aroet Anolat, which is the good character. What does it mean? Someone sees the feature, and the opposite, the negative, everybody knows, it said Alove Eno Meshalem. It doesn't make sense. And why is, it's like the other side. What is Alove Eno Meshalem? Once more of the money, basically doesn't pay back. It doesn't fit. The other fits perfectly. So what is Aroet Anolat, which means whoever sees the feature, and the other side, whoever does not pay the money, borrow the money, it doesn't pay back. What does it mean? Why is like the one other side? David HaMelech says in Tehillim, Kol HaNeshama Te'alel Hallelujah. And everybody says, what does it mean, Kol HaNeshama? Kol HaNeshima. Every single breath that we're taking, we're taking the breath, we have to thank God. We have to make Aleh. Alovet and Eno Meshalem, which means the worst character is basically somebody borrows something, it doesn't pay back. God is giving us, borrowing us our life. Eno Meshalem, which means we are not thanking God whatever we're supposed to. So we have to pay back what God is giving, borrowing us. Could you imagine there are so many people today has a problem of breathing. And if somebody doesn't breathe in the hospital because of coronavirus. We open the window. Why are we not thanking God every single breath Because we're thinking the breath will come eventually. It's a chazakah. And as you know, in Judaism, something to happen 3 times is a chazakah, which means somebody lives in one house for 3 years. We say this belongs to him. But the bread that we have is not guaranteed. Every single bread is a new creation. Aroet anolat. Every single bread is a new creation. It's not connected to the bread we have the previous one. So we have to thank God. And the last thing is we're saying Dayenu. Dayenu, what does it mean Dayenu is enough? Dayenu means every single thing God gave us, we're thanking the God. It's not enough. It doesn't mean it's enough. Dayenu, which means we are praising God every single thing that He gave. The last thing He says, Ezo Ashir Asameach Bechalko. Who is the rich person? Is whoever has who can Asameach Bechalko. Whoever is happy what he has. Ashir. The word of Ashir is very important. How we write the Ashir? Ayin, Shin, Yod, and Resh. Ayin is Enayim, Shin is Shinayim, Yad is Yadayim, Resh Raglayim. Once you have the eye, once you have the teeth, once you have the hands, once you have the basically the leg, you are the most richest person. Today, thank God, we're healthy. We have the ashir, we have the eye, we have the teeth, we have the hands, and we have basically the legs. We have to thank God, and this is why on Pesach, we have to teach our children the appreciation what we have, and this is why Nishmat Kol Chai, we have to count in the end, saying to the children, this is the main message of Pesach, to appreciation the God. Once you appreciate, we have the emunah. You believe in the God more and more. Thank you.
Chazak Baruch, Chacham Hadeva, beautiful drasha. Thank you for the very inspirational and a lot of wisdom and perspective about life in general. Kol hakavod, beautiful.
Thank you.
I want to Acharon Chaviv. We started. I started off. My name is Daniel, and we're going to end off with another very dear Daniel. Daniel Ish Chamudot. He's a Talmid Chacham, a scholar, an educator, a translator of many Sephardic works from Hebrew, from Arabic into English. One who's written curricula for hundreds and hundreds of students. Beautiful, beautiful textbooks that teach students from a young age the Sephardic tradition in schools, not only in Bate Knesset. He also gives drashot in Brooklyn in the community and runs minyan in the community, but his primary work is that of an ish chinuch, an educator. He's on the front lines teaching every day and inspiring, and brings a very deep wisdom and deep knowledge base of the Sephardic tradition in the most authentic way. I've considered it a privilege to sit with him every year and to study with him. So it gives me great, great pleasure to welcome my very dear colleague and friend, Chacham Daniel Kahana. Rabbi Daniel B'chavod.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I want to begin by expressing a tremendous hakarat tov to Chacham Daniel Buskila, to Rabbi Buskila, Hashem Yishmereu v'Yahayeu, for bringing this beautiful Mitivta program together. It's a wonderful friendship of mutual respect and deeply muda Torah, and I am truly humbled and grateful to be part of it.
Honored. Thank you.
Pesach, of course, Leila Seder, centers around Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim, retelling or reliving the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. There are so many miracles that we talk about in the Haggadah, and I would like to take a quick moment to emphasize perhaps a miracle that is no less magnificent and profound, yet perhaps we don't always shed light on it. And let me explain. It's not the Makot, of course, and it's not Kiryat Yam Suf. It's not the splitting of the sea. Plato's cave is a great analogy, a famous analogy of prisoners who live their entire lives within darkness, within a cave, only seeing the shadows and reflections of the real world around or behind them projected. And miraculously, one prisoner, of course, we know this analogy, breaks the shackles, and he's able to leave the cave, and he realizes that he never truly perceived true reality. And he comes back, of course, to the cave to speak to the other prisoners. Now, with that mashal, let's think for a second. How is it possible that Am Yisrael, within the depths of avdut, of slavery, hundreds and hundreds of years in the Egyptian society, somehow, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu sends Moshe, before HaKadosh Baruch Hu calls out to Am Yisrael miraculously is able to see outside of that system they were born into and perceive the reality outside and understand they're not supposed to be where they are and call out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That is a miracle, that the slave becomes self-aware. It's a miracle, perhaps not from the top down, from the bottom up, and it's the miracle that starts the entire process when HaKadosh Baruch Hu hears that Bnei Israel call out, Vayiza'aku, Vatal Shavatam El Elohim. It's only after that turning point that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is responsive to us becoming self-aware. Now, this is no small miracle, because when we think about it, Beset Yisrael Mitzrayim, so Am Yisrael, Mitzrayim, Egypt, is referred to as Bet Avadim. Now, most people translate that as a house of bondage, Bet Avdut, but Bet Avadim perhaps is not exactly Bet Avdut. Bet Avadim means every single individual within that society was a slave. Not only the person on the bottom, even Paro himself, Bet Avadim, all are Avadim. Even Paro was a slave to the system that he lived in. Perhaps, just the simple reading of the story, he's unable to make obvious decisions. Even his servants tell him, Aterem Tedaki Avedam Israim, Egypt is going to be destroyed. Why don't you let them go already? He's a slave to the system, to his ego, to the Egyptian society. And within that system, it's Am Yisrael who are able to see outward and become self-aware. That is a true miracle. And I want to share with you a small, simple insight on how we transcended the Bet Avadim. And the answer is in the very first pasuk of Sefer Shemot. Bnei Israel come down to Egypt. Ish ubeto bau. We come organized in family structures and family units, and we take with us the legacy of Bet Yaakov, of Am Yisrael, of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov. And the antidote to the Bet Avadim is our family structure. Despite all the years that pass in this Avdut, we preserve our identity, we preserve the thinking of Abraham, Yitzhak, and Yaakov, and that ultimately brings about all the other miracles that we speak about. Now, we don't have so much time, but of course, if we read the text of Pesach Mitzrayim, the concept of the Bayit is so central over and over again. We take the lamb, ish sel bet avot sel bayit, for each household. If there's less, imima'et bayit, and so on and so forth. We put the blood on the mezuzot, al habatim. The centrality of the bayit, of the Jewish family, is emphasized over and over, and ultimately that brings out the next miracle of Yitziat Mitzrayim and of Kabbalat Torah, which begins Kot Tomar Lebet Yaakov, right? The household, the house, the families of Israel. So I want to finish with a message to my fellow colleagues and a message to the tzibur at large. To my fellow colleagues of Mitivta, just want to express to you that I consider our group a bait, a family. The Mitivta even has the word bait, the letters bait in there. It's a household, it's a family, it's a bait of clarity and sanity in a world around us that is often not so clear and sane. And it's a tremendous chizuk for me to be part of that family and part of that bait. And to the tzibur at large, I think we all understand the centrality of family, of the bait in Pesach time, And I think this is, and I'm echoing some of what my colleagues said, an opportunity. Those of us who are, isolated away from our families, it's an opportunity to really appreciate and reflect the centrality and how vital and important the family is. And those of us who are with our immediate nuclear family, it's an opportunity to invest and really accentuate that core importance of the family. And with that, I want to wish everybody beracha of tazel ranu tizku l'shanim rabot ne'imot v'tovot.
Baruch. If I could ask all the Chachamim to turn on their microphones, and each one of you, let's go down in order, just give us a quick Mu'adim L'Simcha to close, and then I'll bring a closing word to wrap up this very, very beautiful and special time that we had the opportunity to share together. Chacham Abadi, b'chavod.
I will say it in the Sephardic way, תזכו לשנים רבות נעימות וטובות, תזכו ותחיו ותאריכו ימים, y Pascuas alegres.
Amen v'amen. Chazak u'baruch. Chacham Ilan.
I would like to say, תזכו לשנים רבות נעימות וטובות, מועדים לשמחה, חגים מוזמנים לששון on my behalf, my congregation, the Sephardic congregation of Fort Lee. I wish each and every one of you a safe and happy Pesach.
Amen. Thank you. And Chacham Moshe.
תזכו לשנים רבות, נעימות וטובות. To all of you and fiestas alegres.
Amen, amen.
Thank you.
Chacham Nissim from New York. No, turn the mic on. I want to hear you.
Sorry about that. So thank you so much. Wishing everybody, as we say, Pesach Alegre, Moed Alegre, and from the Sephardic Jewish world, brotherhood here in New York, a warm, warm hug to everybody, to the Chachamim, to all they're also dear to me, and of course to the entire community, and Pesach Alegre, and Be'ezat Hashem, good things we should be seeing soon.
Amen. From Seattle, Chacham Ben, Yamin Chavod.
Pesach Alegre, Buen Pesach, Mu'adim L'Simcha, to all my Hachamim, and to all my family, and to all the friends, and all the community members, wishing you all a wonderful, wonderful Pesach.
Amen, amen. Chazak. Chacham Chaleva in Turkish.
פסח אlegria, מועדים לשמחה, תזכו לשנים רבות, נעימות וטובות, בשורות טובות to everyone.
Amen.
And it should be, wonderful Pesach to everyone. Chag Sameach again.
Amen, amen. Chazak u'baruch. And Chacham Daniel, Chavod.
Once again, תזכו לשנים רבות, נעימות וטובות, and a Chag Sameach. And thank you to Chacham Daniel and to everyone.
Chazak. So I'm going to conclude now. I started this morning by reading to you a letter, the words of Chacham Ben Zion Meir Chai Uziel, the Rishon LeZion. I didn't identify him in the beginning. It was really, I think, beautiful to hear just the words of a father and a grandfather to his children who was pained by the fact that he's not going to be able to celebrate Pesach with them that year in 1948 with minimal conditions. It sounded strikingly similar and emotional to the way many of us are feeling by knowing that our children, our guests, our friends, our communities are unfortunately, due to a different danger, also going to be celebrating Pesach. Many of us in a minimal way, and minimally primarily in the fact that our tables will be reduced in terms of the number of guests. So I want to conclude with words that Chacham Uziel wrote, not just to his family, his immediate family, but to his entire family, Am Yisrael. He wrote these words 2 weeks before he passed away, in what's his classic Tzava'ah Ruhanit, his ethical and spiritual will. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just a few words of reminding us how important it is, especially during these times, for us to remain united. He was a big believer in truth and peace, v'ha'emet v'ha'shalom mehavu, and he said, protect with and safeguard our community from divisiveness. Remove this and instead replace it with peace and unity. Remove all causes of divisiveness from our camp and our state, and instead place everything that will inspire peace and unity in our midst. The words of Chacham Uziel remind us how important it is for us, despite disagreements and differences we may have. Like Rabbi Moshe said, we all look different, have different opinions, come from different backgrounds. One of the beautiful strengths of the Sephardic community is that we're able to exist unity in diversity. Unity does not mean uniformity. Achdut does not mean achidut. It doesn't mean we're all robots copying the same opinion. It's beautiful that we all have different opinions and that we all bring beautiful, different ideas. That's our achdut, that's our strength, that we could all live under one roof together. The Sephardic community could be a shining example to all of Am Yisrael, that Rabbanim from different backgrounds and different ideas are able to come together in Yerushalayim or on Zoom around the world and to celebrate the Achdut. So the holiday of Pesach is a holiday where this year we're not going to be seated around the table. We prayed, Shiv lev avot al banim v'lev banim al avotam. This year, many banim and avot, banot and imahot are not going to be together. So let's pray for the coming of Eliyahu Navi to announce to us Biat HaMashiach, the coming of a redemptive age of redemption, where we will all really be together. And we'll say, as we said in the beginning, L'shana haba be'arad Yisrael, like Rabbi Uziel said to his family, next year may we be in the land of Israel, B'nei Horin, free from any illness, from any virus, free from any divisiveness within our camp, and unified together with a lot of love and a lot of unity, and the continuation of studying our Torah, and the Torah that we always love to study with a smile, with a laughter, with love, to transmit that to our next generation. We don't want to transmit viruses and illnesses. Instead, we want to transmit love, and we want to transmit the Torah of our ancestors. So with a lot of love to all of you, Tiskul Shanim Rabot, Tovot and Ne'imot, Mu'adim Simcha, with a lot of love all over the world to all of you. Hazakim Baruchim, my dear.
Zaku Baruch, Rabbi Daniel. Zaku Baruch.
Yeah, love is also a virus. Beautiful virus.
Thank you. Tisku v'tichyu.
Zakim Baruchim. Beautiful.
Thank you again, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everyone. Chag Sameach. Don't forget, Areskov Dados.
By the way, the brotherhood sounds very sinister. Who's the brotherhood?
An underground organization.
Okay.
Don't worry.
It's the Sephardic CIA.
Jewish Brotherhood.
Brotherhood has, by the way, something very beautiful called the Sephardic Digital Academy that they've launched. Online learning. So we'll continue.
It was beautiful to see over 75 people connecting.
Fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Mashallah.
It should become a minhag to really do this before any Yom Tov. I think we should really get together and deliver a message to the Kehillah. I think that will be
beautiful.
Right. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you for dressing up so nice. You look so really nice. Very good. Hazaku Baruch.
Thank you.
Thank you to Ethan Marcus.
Yes, thank you, Ethan.
Thank you.
Yeah, Zaku Baruch, Ethan. Great job.
Yes. Thank you.
Rabbi Daniel, which Facebook was live from SAC?
I'm sorry?
Our program was live on Facebook.
On the Brotherhood's Facebook
also
page.
On the Brotherhood, yes.
Okay.
Brotherhood. Oh,
Yeah, well, I'll make sure that everyone gets the link to the recording. We can send it out.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Hazakim Baruch.
Yalla, call to. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.